So I know that there's a feeling in football that everyone can play right back. And you've just added to that feeling. But I'm going to push back a little bit and say that it has got a little bit more challenge when it comes to the big games and you're playing against fantastic players. So, would you be able to go to the Bernabeu and play against Real Madrid, or in the big games in at City away or United away even, sort of, or Tottenham away or Chelsea away? I'm not sure. I think that he may have problems. But look, he's got the physical attributes for it, and
we'll get back to Gary in just a quick second, but remember, if you like this video, please like, share and subscribe, and don't forget to click the notification button so that you know when the next Big D Talks football video hits. And as ever, if something is bubbling up inside of you, if you need to express something, if you've got something to say that is on your mind, please put it in the comments. The Big D reads all of the comments, and he is always interested in what is on your mind. Anyway, this next clip is a little snippet from the Gary Neville podcast post the Merseyside Derby. And he's going to be talking about Liverpool's performance, and he's going to be talking about the fact that Liverpool are going to win the league. Clearly he's not happy. Clearly the Big D's not happy because Big D's a Man United fan. But hey-ho, they've deserved it. They've been the most consistent, blah, blah, blah. Anyway, have a listen to Gary. Stick around for after the clip because the Big D is going to be giving his thoughts on Liverpool Football Club. Here he is.
Well, welcome back, everybody, to the Gary Neville podcast. After a couple of weeks off, here we are at Anfield off the back of a Merseyside derby, which Liverpool won, Gary, by just one goal, but it felt to me, certainly in the second half, relatively comfortably.
Yeah, and it's a good night for Liverpool. I think you just mentioned that we've had a couple of weeks off, and the couple of weeks that Arne Slot have had will... I think he'll had some uncomfortable thoughts in that period. Just obviously the fact that they've lost the Carabao Cup final and they've obviously gone out of Europe will have left a sour taste in his mouth, and he'll have wanted to get back to this game. And you could see at the end of the game the way in which he sort of, I won't say celebrated, but the way in which he just sort of like, you could tell there was a determination about him, because Liverpool are going to win the league irrespective of whether they won tonight or drew or lost even. They're just too far in front and they're going to get the job done. But it's about how you do it sometimes, making sure that you do it the right way. Tonight was about concentration, focus, making sure you got the 3 points. They had some difficult moments, but you're right. I thought they were really good and professional in the second half. And the thing that surprised me all season about Liverpool, even more so than when Jurgen Klopp was the manager, is that I think they've been able to adapt and play different ways when they've been good in big games in the Premier League. And in the second half, I thought after they scored, I thought it was an outstanding period. When Everton started attacking again for a minute or two, I said, what's been the possession for the last 10 minutes? It was 90%. And that's what you do when you're a good side. You don't panic. You don't go and chase a second goal straight away. You try and just draw the opponent out. And I think they've really done well tonight. And they defended a lot better in the second half than in the first. I thought Beto caused a couple of problems in the first half.
Yeah, we speak again about the rest. I've heard so many professional footballers, including yourself, say the last thing you want is to go into an international break off a poor result. And of course Liverpool went into it off the most harrowing of Champions League penalty shootout here, and then that League Cup final. To what extent did you feel, certainly at the start of the game, that it was still being played in that context? Or had it gone?
Look, I think there's quite a lot of experience in that Liverpool side, but there's no doubt when you lose cup finals the way in which they did, that it'll hang with you and hang with you well beyond tonight and next week and the week after, because it'll keep getting played back. Play it back yourself as well, because you don't let moments like that go. These cup finals only come around, they come around rarely in your life. You don't get a lot of them, and they didn't turn up on that day, so that will still sort of bug them. But let's be clear, the priority for every team that wants to do something at the start of the season is to win a league. And we can't sit here and say now Liverpool 12 points clear with 7 or 8 games to go, that we can't talk about the negatives of it. This is an unbelievable season, a remarkable season for Liverpool to win a Premier League title. There aren't many who had them down at the start of the season. I thought it may even be a dramatic drop-off with Jurgen Klopp leaving and the impact that would have on this club. So for them to be where they're at, it's not a time to start rewriting history and say, well, they always should have been here. They should be in Europe. They should be in they should have been in the Carabao Cup final. They should beat Newcastle. Yeah, of course they should have played better. But now I think it's about the running. We're definitely on that running. We're into April, and they're going to be celebrating a league title here, 20th league title, painfully for me, quite quickly, because tonight was important. They were going to get over the line, but it's how quickly they were going to get over the line. And the last time Liverpool won the league title, obviously they didn't have fans in this stadium, so it's going to be good in this next few weeks for Liverpool fans for Arne Slot, and he'll know tonight that in that dressing room there'll be a serious sort of concentration and focus about finishing this job off and doing it right.
Having acknowledged that Liverpool were comfortably, statistically, the stronger side, it actually is, like so many football matches are, one of those that could have been different. Beto hits the post, Beto marginally offside. Everton actually started the game quite well.
Yeah, I think the first half, if you're David Moyes, I mean, you want the goal because you're going to get one or two moments in the match. That's how it works. You get a one-on-one with the goalkeeper, you've got to take that chance. And in the first half, he had two better. One of them, he was obviously just a whisker offside. But it would have been, I think, after 20 minutes, perfect. We've sort of just quietened the crowd down. They start to get a couple of moments, and that's when you've got to take your chance. And David Moyes will have known when Beto goes through on goal that that's the big moment in the game for him, where if you get a goal in front, you've really got something to hang on to and play for. And maybe you make Liverpool make changes and the crowd get even more frustrated. So when you don't take that chance and you miss, and it was a narrow miss, he'll have been happy at half-time with the game plan, staying in the game. It's a tough ground for Everton to come to. It's a tough ground for David Moyes to come to. And it's not changed tonight. But I thought Liverpool were a lot better after half-time. I think they recognised that in the first half, they're not playing as well at the moment, Liverpool, but that can happen in the period of a season. You're never going to be brilliant all the way through. They've worked themselves into such a fantastic position that they can afford to be a little bit not quite at the best. But I would have liked them to have played with a little bit more rhythm in and around the final third. And it's not just Liverpool. I see so many teams recycling the ball round teams that are sort of playing deep and sort of getting so many people behind them. And I want to see them just push passes through into Salah's feet, into Jota's feet. I thought they did that in the second half before they scored. They just got a couple into Jota into the box. And you just sometimes got to trust players when they're marked to have the back to players and have defenders tight to you, that they're going to handle it and they're going to sort of roll people and they're going to bring players into play. Because once you play it in, I used to do this as a fullback all the time, my first pass was always to try and get it into those sort of corridors, into Andy Cole or Dwight York, and Jota does that really well. Once you've got that pass in there, you've then got your midfield runners, you've then got your wide players can spin in. So for me, Liverpool didn't do enough of that in the first half, and in the second, when they started to do that a little bit more, they got the goal, and then they controlled the game perfectly well from a point of view of Everton, then didn't have a sniff after that.
On the subject of fullbacks, maybe that being your specialist topic, a report on Curtis Jones. How did he play the position?
I thought he did really well. I mean, he played it in. It was a comfortable game for him defensively. So you'd obviously say that he wasn't tested, which I think is a weakness for Everton. They should have tried to focus on him. I thought even with simple things like the long kicks, they kept playing it down the throat of Konate and Van Dijk, and sometimes they had a little bit of joy where they got it through. But even just putting things on top of him, I mean, I think he can compete. I don't think he would have wilted and sort of gone under on that, but just try and make him feel like, I think when you've got a player playing out of position, what you should try and do is pick on him. Bullying him is a strong word, but that's what we would try and do. If you see there's a left back that's not quite a left back, or a centre back that's not quite a centre back, maybe he's a full back, then put everything on top of him, make him feel like we think he's a weakness. And they just didn't really do that, Everton. And I understand that obviously if you play the ball out to the sort of left wing, that you're never really going to cause a massive problem through the middle, but it's just sending a message to him that you're going to have to defend tonight, you're going to have to do things. And I thought Curtis Jones did really well. He's obviously really good on the ball. He's so smooth in possession, the way he handles the ball. And we saw a little clearance at the end, which I think Trent Alexander-Arnold was sort of smirking and smiling on the bench at, thinking that, it's quite cheeky, that, what I mean? I certainly wouldn't have had that in me. I'd have probably put it out for a corner or something.
Well, I wonder whether just around the edges he plays a part now in the whole right-back conversation for Liverpool, if they are going to lose Trent.
Yeah.
Conor Bradley feels like the natural successor, but if you've got a guy who in extremis can do the job, will that play a part in terms of planning? And
I'm going to be quite ruthless here, Peter, answering this question. Look, there's no doubt there are games where Curtis Jones could play right back. I think he may even play Kwanzaa on Sunday at Fulham, just purely because away from home and the idea of doing a lot more defending, you're going to get a lot more pressure. But I think the idea that Curtis Jones can play full-back, I think remains to be seen. Because if he's playing against Paris Saint-Germain or you're playing against the top teams, you will get found out if you're not competent defensively. So,
well, I mean, I don't know. It was an interesting game, the Merseyside Derby. I don't know if that that horrendous tackle should have been a red card or not. I mean, I've seen less given, to be fair, but he did kind of get the ball. So it's 6 of one and half a dozen of the other. I mean, I wouldn't be I wouldn't have been sort of surprised if he got the red card, but at the same time, getting the yellow card again, I think, well, fair enough, because he got the ball and he went for the ball. He wasn't necessarily trying to hurt the man. It was just kind of one of them things. But then again, at the same time, I've seen situations where less has been given as a red card. So, as I say, it's 6 of one and half dozen of the other. But that Beto, oh my God, that Beto should have had about a hat-trick against Liverpool. He missed a couple of sitters. And Virgil van Dijk, honestly, I honestly don't get what the fuss is about Virgil van Dijk. I understand he's a good defender and could class him as world-class for this era. But the way people talk about it, good grief. You'd think it was Paolo Maldini. Oh, I mean, there's a couple of instances in that match there against Everton where I thought, what? He's meant to be the best defender in the world. I can't then. But yeah, hey-ho. It is what it is. But Beto should have done a little bit better. But, at the same time, Liverpool, they've got the momentum, they've got the form, they've got the confidence, they're well-drilled, they're a well-oiled winning machine, in the league at least, at the moment. So I wasn't surprised that they got the win, and the league title's theirs, so fair enough. And everyone else has been crap. Obviously, Man United have, but so have Man City. Arsenal haven't really kicked on either, so this was one of those weird seasons where the team that was going to win the league was going to be the one that didn't mess up. Basically, that was it. You just had to stay consistent and not mess up, right? A bit like the Leicester season. I've said this before. Leicester didn't win that league necessarily because they were the best team on paper in the league, because they weren't. But they were the team that remained the most consistent. Everyone else were up and down. It's a similar situation now. I would argue if Jurgen Klopp was still Liverpool manager, they wouldn't have won the league this season. Because I think Jurgen Klopp was burnt out. I think he'd had enough. The players were probably burnt out with him as well. But Arne Slot's come in and he's just set them up really nicely. Everyone's in their right position. A little bit of a fresh perspective and all of that. Just a little bit of breath of fresh air in the training ground and all of that. And he's just kept them consistent. That's it. And everyone else has been crap. But on paper, Liverpool are not the best team. It's still got to be Man City. But Man City have been crap because Pep Guardiola got divorced. So it's Pep Guardiola's wife's fault. Good grief. So the Scousers have got a big assist from the divorce lawyers. So, hopefully, whoever's lifting the title, who is the Liverpool captain? Is it Van Dijk? But whoever it is, in their sort of victory speech, they should be thanking Pep Guardiola's wife's divorce lawyers. Because, what can you do? But yeah, I mean, it will be interesting to see how Liverpool get on next year. Because there's always that second season syndrome. Now, hey, listen, Arne Slot could be the find of the century. He could very well be. And they could buy a couple of players in the summer that just kick that team on and they could go on and win the Champions League. Who knows? Who knows? It's difficult to predict football sometimes. But at the same time, he could have a drop-off because the momentum always shifts, and it's only the great managers that are able to sort of maintain that momentum over the span of a certain amount of seasons, and it remains to be seen whether or not Arne Slot is that guy. If Virgil van Dijk goes, if Mo Salah goes, if Trent goes, which he probably is, then again, are they going to get replaced properly? Maybe they will. Maybe they won't. Who knows? It'll be very difficult to. I mean, key players are always very difficult to replace unless you've got someone lined up and you've had them lined up for a number of years. I mean, it took Man United about 18 months to replace Eric Cantona. It took them about 5 years to replace Peter Schmeichel. You know, they never really replaced Roy Keane. How they sort of coped with that was they bought 2 players that picked up the slack that Roy Keane did on his own, and that was Michael Carrick and Owen Hargreaves. And even then, Owen Hargreaves was injured all the time. They never replaced Cristiano Ronaldo. So if Mo Salah is their version of Cristiano Ronaldo, say, you know what I mean, then it's always hard to find another Ronaldo. So it remains to be seen on that front. But, you know, credit where credit's due. The league doesn't lie. Liverpool are on course to winning the league, and it's going to take a miracle for them not to win it. So you've got to say congratulations, really. The title's in their hands. But what do you guys think? Do you think they'll crack on next season and win back-to-back, or do you think Man City will be back? Do you think Arsenal will buy that striker that they need, and do you think that will take them over the line? Do you even think, dare I say it, that Man United will click into place and kick on? Who knows? Football is a strange sport. But as ever, if you've reached this far in this video, you're clearly interested in what the Big D has to say. So please, because of that, the Big D wants to hear your thoughts. So thoughts in the comments, and the Big D will see you in the next one.